In the age of 15-second fame, mountains have become backdrops for viral content. When amateur creators meet professional warnings, the peaks don't care about your engagement rate. Today, we're examining 5 times TikTok creators dismissed mountain safety for content creation and discovered that some videos are never worth posting. It was July 12th, 2019. Mount Washington in New Hampshire's White Mountains showed deceptive calm in the early afternoon. Its notorious weather patterns hidden beneath clear skies and gentle breezes. The mountain's reputation for rapid weather changes had killed over 150 people, but nothing in the peaceful setting suggested that conditions could turn lethal within hours. Seasoned mountaineers were checking weather updates and packing gear, but newcomers remained scrolling through their devices. Connor Blake was 23, a content creator from Boston who specialized in extreme challenge videos for social media. He treated every outdoor activity as potential viral content, constantly filming himself attempting dangerous stunts without proper preparation or safety equipment. His climbing experience consisted of indoor rock gyms and a few day hikes in Massachusetts. This solo attempt on Mount Washington was his bid to create content showing himself conquering the deadliest mountain in America using only basic gear. He showed up with a smartphone, portable charger, and hiking boots from a department store. He had no understanding of alpine weather patterns and viewed weather warnings as content opportunities rather than serious safety information. His plan was to film himself reaching the summit during deteriorating conditions, proving that determination could overcome what he called overhyped mountain dangers. That afternoon, the Mount Washington Observatory issued severe weather warnings for the summit. Winds were forecast to reach hurricane force within hours, with temperatures dropping to life-threatening levels. The combination of wind and cold would create conditions equivalent to an Arctic blizzard. Observatory staff recommended that all hikers descend immediately, or risk being trapped in potentially fatal weather. Connor dismissed the warnings as overly cautious, filming himself questioning the dramatic weather predictions while continuing his ascent. He checked his phone for updated forecasts, but convinced himself that weather services always erred on the side of extreme caution to avoid liability. That afternoon, Connor was filming himself approaching the summit when Mount Washington's notorious weather system began its rapid transformation. Winds increased from 15 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour over 30 minutes, with gusts reaching 80 miles per hour. The temperature dropped 40 degrees in less than 2 hours, creating wind chill values approaching minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Connor became disoriented immediately, unable to see landmarks or follow the trail markers. For the first time, he questioned whether he should have listened to the warnings, but it was already too late to turn back safely. His phone battery died within minutes in the extreme cold, eliminating his only navigation tool. He wandered in circles for 2 hours, his inadequate clothing providing no protection against the Arctic conditions. Hypothermia set in rapidly as his core temperature plummeted. Connor collapsed in a shallow depression between rocks, his body shutting down from severe cold exposure. He tried to create shelter using his thin jacket, but the hurricane-force winds made any protection impossible. His hands and feet were already showing signs of severe frostbite, the tissue freezing solid in the sub-zero wind chill. For 3 hours, Connor lay conscious but unable to move as hypothermia progressed through its final stages. His speech became incoherent, then stopped entirely as his brain function deteriorated. His breathing became shallow and irregular as his body diverted blood flow away from his extremities in a desperate attempt to protect vital organs. The wind continued howling around him, driving snow into his face and eyes. Search and rescue teams couldn't launch operations until the storm passed 24 hours later. When they found Connor's body the following afternoon, he was frozen solid in the position where he had collapsed. The medical examiner documented severe hypothermia as the cause of death, with extensive frostbite damage to his hands, feet, and face. His phone was found nearby, cracked from the cold and containing his final video attempts before the battery failed. Connor Blake's death on Mount Washington proved that viral ambitions mean nothing when nature shows its true power. But if mountain weather could humble the overconfident, at Mount Katahdin in Maine, a dance creator would soon discover that some stages are never meant for performance. It was August 3rd, 2020. Mount Katahdin's Knife Edge Trail in Maine stretched before morning hikers like a narrow spine of granite, barely 3 feet wide in places with 1,000-foot drops on both sides. The trail's reputation as one of the most dangerous hikes on the East Coast was well earned, requiring complete focus and proper mountaineering technique. Nothing about the exposed ridge suggested it was suitable for filming. Veteran climbers studied the technical route ahead as content creators positioned their equipment nearby. Emma Rodriguez was 25, a dance content creator from Miami who had never hiked above sea level before attempting Katahdin. She specialized in filming elaborate dance routines in unusual locations, treating every environment as a potential stage for viral choreography. Her outdoor experience consisted of beach workouts and urban exploration videos, none of which involved technical rock scrambling or understanding granite friction coefficients. This expedition to Maine was her attempt to create the most extreme dance video ever filmed on what she called America's scariest hiking trail. She showed up with dance costumes, a ring light, and zero understanding of technical hiking. She had researched the trail only through social media posts, focusing on dramatic photos rather than safety information. Her plan was to film multiple dance sequences along the knife edge, including moves that required jumping and spinning on the narrow ridge. She viewed the 1,000-foot exposure as an exciting backdrop rather than a deadly hazard. That morning, experienced hikers warned Emma about the technical difficulty of the knife edge trail. They explained that the route required both hands for balance and scrambling, making any unnecessary movement extremely dangerous. The granite surface became slippery when wet, and wind gusts could easily knock someone off balance. They recommended she reconsider her filming plans and focus on safe passage across the ridge. Emma dismissed their concerns as overly cautious thinking, telling them she had researched the trail extensively and felt confident in her abilities. She hesitated briefly when they mentioned fatalities, but convinced herself that proper preparation and focus would keep her safe. During the late morning, Emma paused at the narrowest section, feeling a flutter of nervousness as she looked down at the 1,000-foot drop. She took a deep breath to calm herself before beginning her routine. During a spinning sequence that required her to pivot on one foot, Emma lost her balance on the granite surface. Her momentum carried her sideways off the trail, and she fell immediately down the mountain's south face. There was no opportunity for self-arrest or recovery. The cliff was too steep and the fall too sudden. Emma tumbled 800 feet down the rocky slope, striking granite ledges and boulders repeatedly during her descent. Each impact shattered more bones and caused massive internal trauma. Her skull fractured against a rock outcrop halfway down, causing immediate brain damage. Her spine snapped when she struck a ledge, paralyzing her instantly. Blood streamed from multiple wounds as she continued falling. She landed in a boulder field at the base of the cliff, her body twisted at impossible angles among the rocks. Her dance costume was shredded, and her camera equipment was scattered across the mountainside. For several minutes, she remained conscious but unable to move or speak, feeling her life drain away while staring up at the trail where she had been dancing moments before. Other hikers witnessed the fall and immediately called for rescue, but the terrain made immediate assistance impossible. Helicopter evacuation was attempted, but couldn't land safely due to the technical difficulty of the location. Ground rescue teams reached Emma 2 hours after the fall, but she had already died from massive trauma and blood loss. The medical examiner documented multiple skull fractures, complete spinal cord severance, crushed ribs that punctured both lungs, and extensive internal bleeding from organ damage. Emma had died from the combination of traumatic injuries sustained during her 800-foot fall down the granite cliff face. Her camera was found still recording, having captured her final dance moves and the beginning of her fatal fall. Emma Rodriguez's death on Knife Edge proved that artistic vision means nothing when you ignore basic safety on technical terrain. But if exposure could claim the creative, at Mount Rainier in Washington, a fitness creator would soon learn that some workouts demand more than physical strength. It was September 15th, 2021. Mount Rainier's summit crater in Washington state lay exposed to brutal wind and sub-zero temperatures, the 14,411-foot peak showing its teeth to climbers attempting the final approach. The mountain's notorious weather patterns and technical glacier travel had killed dozens of climbers, but nothing in the early morning calm suggested immediate danger. Professional guides conducted final safety checks, though social media personalities focused on adjusting their camera settings. Austin Wells was 26, a fitness influencer from Seattle who specialized in extreme workout videos, filmed in challenging locations. He treated mountains as outdoor gyms, constantly filming elaborate exercise routines without understanding the environments where he was performing them. His climbing experience consisted of day hikes and gym training. This solo attempt on Mount Rainier was his plan to film the highest altitude workout in Washington state using bodyweight exercises at the summit. He showed up with workout equipment, protein supplements, and designer athletic wear completely inappropriate for alpine conditions. He had no understanding of glacier travel, altitude effects, or mountain weather patterns. His plan was to film an hour-long workout routine at the summit, including jumping exercises, handstand sequences, and equipment-based movements that required extended time in the death zone. That day, mountain guides warned Austin about deteriorating weather conditions and the dangers of extended exposure above 14,000 feet. They explained that the summit crater was no place for prolonged activity, with wind-chill temperatures that could cause frostbite within minutes and altitude effects that impaired judgment and physical performance. They recommended a quick summit photo and immediate descent. Austin brushed off their warnings as overly conservative, telling them that his extensive training and conditioning had prepared him for extreme conditions. He acknowledged their experience, but believed his systematic approach to fitness gave him advantages that traditional climbers lacked. As Austin began his jumping exercises, he noticed his feet slipping slightly on the icy surface. A moment of panic flashed through him, but he convinced himself to continue. During his next jump sequence, his inadequate footwear lost traction completely. He slipped and fell 30 feet down a steep snow slope, striking his head against exposed rocks and suffering immediate traumatic brain injury. The impact knocked him unconscious and caused severe bleeding from a skull fracture that stained the white snow crimson. Austin regained consciousness 20 minutes later, disoriented and suffering from both head trauma and rapidly advancing hypothermia. His workout clothing was soaked with blood and provided no insulation against the sub-zero temperatures. He tried to climb back up the slope but was too weak and confused to make progress. His core temperature was dropping rapidly as his body went into shock. For 2 hours, Austin lay on the exposed slope, his condition deteriorating as hypothermia and head trauma combined to shut down his body's systems. His speech became incoherent, then stopped entirely as brain swelling affected his ability to think or communicate. His breathing became shallow and irregular as his damaged brain struggled to maintain basic life functions. Mountain rescue teams reached Austin nearly 3 hours after his fall. They found him unconscious with severe head trauma and advanced hypothermia. His core temperature had dropped to dangerous levels, and he was showing signs of brain damage from both the impact and prolonged cold exposure. Emergency treatment was initiated immediately, but the damage was too severe for field medicine. Austin died during the helicopter evacuation at 12,800 feet, approximately 4 hours after his initial fall. The medical examiner documented severe traumatic brain injury from the impact, complicated by fatal hypothermia from prolonged exposure to extreme conditions. His workout equipment was found scattered across the mountainside, useless against the mountain's brutal reality. Austin Wells' death on Mount Rainier proved that fitness means nothing when you're unprepared for alpine conditions. But if mountain environments could overwhelm the physically elite, at Mount Elbert in Colorado, a lifestyle creator would soon discover that some content comes at the ultimate price. It was October 7th, 2022. Mount Elbert's summit in Colorado stood at 14,440 feet, the highest peak in the state, showing early winter conditions with fresh snow and dropping temperatures. The mountain's deceptive appearance as a walk-up peak had lured many unprepared hikers into dangerous situations, but nothing about the gentle slopes suggested the altitude effects that could prove fatal. Alpine veterans monitored the deteriorating conditions, yet influencers continued searching for the perfect filming angles. Madison Foster was 24, a lifestyle content creator from Denver who specialized in wellness and outdoor adventure videos. She treated every activity as a content creation opportunity, constantly filming herself attempting challenges without proper preparation or understanding of the risks involved. Her mountain experience consisted of a few summer hikes below treeline. This late-season attempt on Mount Elbert was her plan to create the ultimate fall wellness content. featuring meditation and yoga at Colorado's highest point. She showed up with yoga equipment, meditation props, and trendy outdoor clothing designed for appearance rather than function. She had no understanding of altitude effects, winter mountain conditions, or the dangers of extended exposure above tree line. Her plan was to film multiple wellness videos at the summit, including extended meditation sessions and yoga routines that required hours of stationary activity in the alpine zone. That morning, other hikers warned Madison about the approaching weather system and the dangers of altitude sickness above 14,000 feet. They explained that the combination of thin air, cold temperatures, and potential storms made extended summit time extremely dangerous, and that early symptoms of altitude sickness could progress rapidly to life-threatening conditions. Madison politely thanked them for their concern, but explained that her meditation practice and breathing techniques had helped her overcome challenges before. She felt confident that her mental preparation and positive mindset would help her adapt to the altitude effects they described. At 14,200 feet, Madison began showing early symptoms of high-altitude cerebral edema, severe headaches, nausea, and confusion. She felt genuinely worried for a moment, remembering the hiker's warnings, but convinced herself these were signs of spiritual purification, rather than dangerous medical symptoms requiring immediate descent. During her planned meditation sequence, Madison lost consciousness from severe altitude sickness. Her brain had swollen to the point where it could no longer maintain basic functions, and she collapsed while sitting in meditation pose. The combination of cerebral edema and hypothermia from prolonged exposure created a medical emergency that required immediate evacuation. Mountain rescue teams reached the summit 2 hours later, but Madison's condition had deteriorated beyond the point where field treatment could be effective. The combination of severe cerebral edema and hypothermia had caused irreversible brain damage. Despite aggressive treatment, including supplemental oxygen and rapid descent procedures, her vital signs continued to deteriorate. Madison died at 13,800 feet during the evacuation attempt, approximately 3 hours after losing consciousness at the summit. The medical examiner documented severe high-altitude cerebral edema is the primary cause of death, complicated by hypothermia from prolonged exposure to extreme conditions. Her meditation equipment was found still arranged at the summit, a stark reminder of how spiritual practice meant nothing when her brain was swelling from oxygen deprivation. Madison Foster's death on Mount Elbert proved that wellness philosophy means nothing when you ignore mountain realities. But if altitude could defeat the spiritually minded, at Half Dome in Yosemite, a parkour creator would soon learn that some stunts have no second chances. It was June 14th, 2023. Half Dome Summit in Yosemite National Park stood exposed above the valley floor, its iconic granite face drawing thousands of hikers annually to experience one of America's most challenging day hikes. The final approach required cables for safety, but nothing about the crowded summit suggested the deadly potential for someone treating the mountain as an extreme sports venue. Park regulars followed established safety protocols, but newcomers scouted locations for dramatic footage instead. Ethan Cross was 27, a parkour content creator from Los Angeles who specialized in filming dangerous stunts in urban and natural environments. He treated every location as a potential obstacle course, constantly pushing boundaries without understanding the consequences of failure. His outdoor experience consisted of rock climbing gyms and urban exploration. This trip to Yosemite was his attempt to create the most extreme parkour video ever filmed, using Half Dome's granite surfaces as his playground. He showed up with action cameras, climbing shoes, and zero respect for park safety regulations. He had researched Half Dome only through extreme sports videos, focusing on dramatic stunts rather than the technical climbing skills required for safe passage. His plan was to film an hour-long workout routine at the summit, including jumping exercises, handstand sequences, and equipment-based movements that required extended time in the extreme altitude zone. That morning, park rangers warned Ethan about the dangers of attempting parkour moves on Half Dome's granite surfaces. They explained that the rock became extremely slippery when polished by thousands of hikers, and that any fall from the summit area would be fatal. The cables were installed specifically because the final approach was too dangerous without safety systems. They recommended he stick to designated trails and use proper safety equipment. Ethan thanked them for the warning, but explained that his parkour training had taught him to assess risks carefully and move with precision. He felt confident that his experience with technical movement and balance gave him skills that most hikers didn't possess. That afternoon, as Ethan prepared for a running jump between two granite slabs, he noticed how slippery the polished surface felt under his shoes. His stomach tightened with anxiety, but he shook off the feeling and committed to the jump. During the sequence, his foot slipped on the polished surface just as he launched into the air. His trajectory carried him beyond the landing zone, and he fell immediately down Half Dome's northwest face. There was no opportunity for self-arrest or recovery. The granite was too steep and smooth for any handholds. Ethan fell 1,200 feet down the granite face, accelerating rapidly as he struck the polished rock surface repeatedly. Each impact with the granite broke more bones and caused massive trauma. His skull cracked against the rock face, causing immediate brain damage. His spine shattered when he struck a ledge, severing his spinal cord instantly. Blood streamed from multiple wounds as he continued falling. He landed on a granite ledge 1,200 feet below the summit, his body completely destroyed by the impacts during his fall. His parkour clothing was shredded, and his camera equipment was scattered across the cliff face. He died instantly from the massive trauma sustained during his fall down one of Yosemite's most unforgiving granite faces. Other hikers witnessed the fall and immediately called for rescue, but the location made recovery extremely dangerous and time-consuming. Helicopter operations were complicated by the technical difficulty of accessing the remote ledge where Ethan's body had landed. Ground rescue teams reached him 6 hours later, but he had been dead since the moment of impact. The medical examiner documented multiple skull fractures, complete spinal cord severance, crushed ribs that punctured vital organs, and extensive internal bleeding from organ damage. Ethan had died instantly from the combination of traumatic injuries sustained during his 1,200-foot fall down Half Dome's granite face. His camera was found still recording, having captured his final parkour moves and the beginning of his fatal fall. 5 creators who thought content was worth more than their lives. In the end, it didn't matter if you were chasing extreme challenges, artistic vision, fitness goals, spiritual enlightenment, or athletic expression. The mountains don't negotiate with cameras. Thanks for watching. If you like these stories, click here.